Welcome team, we're back. It's 2023 cricket equipment. It's Gunn and Moore this time round. It's Rich, it's Neil, and we've got a load of bats to review. Here we go. So we've got all of this lot. So these three fellas, they're all new. But Neil, they're not.
Yeah, these four appeared in the 2022 range. They're back for 2023 because obviously they were successful. We have done individual reviews already on these four bats. So if you're interested in one of these four, have a look in the descriptions below and click the links for those individual ones. More excitingly, let's get on to the new ones.
Let's get into it. Right, first of all, we've gone for the HYPA. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Because you don't want to be hyper at the crease, but maybe you want one in your hands. Anyway, HYPA, here we go. Dressed in black with some funky colours. So I like that. We've got a new grip to talk about. I'll just quickly show you the Gunn and Moore stickers, which again are always really good. They do make you want to pick the bat up. They look really funky. Little toe guard as well on the bottom. So other than it looking really cool and having some funky and jazzy colours, we probably need to go into some technical stuff. So what does this bat have?
I think first of all, Rich, this bat is a traditional full-bladed bat. So you're at the 555mm in terms of bat length. So
cool.
Back to traditional length. Big thick edges, quite a rounded back to it, I would say.
Very forgiving across the hitting zone, isn't it?
Very forgiving, quite a big toe as well as we turn it around. It'd be interesting to see where the sweet spot is on this one. I'd say very similar to the Noir from 2022 on looks and shape and everything like that. So if you enjoyed the Noir, then
this probably could be one.
Even without the bat mallet, this is probably possibly a shape for you, I'd say. Pings pretty nicely. Felt good in that middle zone. If anything, probably middle to low. So probably going to be good on the front foot, I would have thought. Looks great. The colourways, you can see you might not be able to pick that up on the camera, but there's four distinct colourways running through the graphics. But from a distance, it actually looks a bit more 3D in style, I'd say. Still got a slightly bowed face. You mentioned the grip.
I did. Now this one is the HYPA grip. So it's got a little bit of detail to it. So you've got a lot of cross sections. You've got the four distinct colours again, taken from the stickering a little bit below. You've got Gunn and Moore at the top. I'd say it's a thinner grip. I wouldn't say it's particularly thick. I feel that there's a little extra bit of stuff down the bottom of the handle here compared to the top. So I think that's something that you might consider. And I think it's not as grippy as a Hex. I think if I give you that one to you, we've got one here. So I think that's the grippier version, a Hex grip. That one came out last year, I think it was, maybe even the year before. So yeah, I think it's a nice funky addition that goes well with that bat.
Yeah, I think grips are definitely personal choice. Probably don't choose the bat on the grip. We've mentioned that loads of times before. You can always change your grip. I personally I'm not a bigger fan of the Hex grip. I think I definitely prefer this grip. And actually this is styled really nicely because you've still got the four coloured rings in the top of the HYPA grip, which picks out the colourways in there nicely. From a balance point of view, well, we've talked about that rounded shape. That's going to suit a lot of people. If you hit the ball slightly off centre, you've got a fair bit of wood still behind the hitting zone there. For me, it'd be interesting to get this in the nets and see how we go. Doesn't pick up as light as I would probably like it, but that's the balance and trade-off between the bat shape and actual pickup. I think you'll find player-wise, it's early days because the range only come out, but we're under the impression people like James Vince are probably going to move into this. There's a rumour Ben Duckett, but that's definitely not official knowledge as yet, so we'll wait and see what he goes into. But I think that's going to please a lot of people. Pretty funky graphics, I think. I think is it for you?
I like the shape. I always have done. The weight is slightly at the lower end, so for those that like to drive the ball, I feel this is and maybe back foot shots, punch vertical bat. I think they're going to like that. I think it's a nice bat. It's a really good option for a lot of cricketers. Front foot, back foot players. I think you can be aggressive with this one. You don't have to be a super player. You've got to absolutely pick out the middle of the bat here because of that forgiveness. So I quite like it. I'd probably wait to see what else is in the range though. Maybe I'm just being choosy. How about yourself? Would you? You've already indicated maybe not.
Does that come across? So I actually think this is going to be really popular. I think this is going to be, and I think Gunn and Moore think this one's going to be really popular in their range too. And I think we'll see a lot of these moving out of the store.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be in my hands. Only in that, and you're looking surprised.
No, not at all.
Only in that for me. I've said so. I think I prefer probably a slightly lighter pickup.
Yeah.
I'm a bit shorter than you. Probably have to play more off the back foot because the ball is a little bit shorter. So for me, cutting and pulling is just as important as getting on the front foot. So I'm hoping that, I'm probably expecting there'll be something a bit more suited to me coming. However, that's going to go really well. And I think the colourways are brilliant. And the Noir did really well. And this is very, very similar. So I think there'll be lots of people using the HYPA next year.
I think there will be. A few more wicket keepers with your sunglasses on, trying to look at those stickers. Somebody in the Gunn and Moore marketing department likes tennis because we have got the knit KRYOS. I mean, it's probably not quite the exact same spelling, but anyway, I had to get that in there. We've gone a little bit silver and we've gone a little bit white. Maybe grey, I guess you could say. Anyway, let's have a little look on the way round. It's the traditional Gunn and Moore stickering. Gunn and Moore both sides, down the bottom, round the sides, gives you a little extra information on the side, of course. Got a toe guard on her, and we've gone to the hex grip. I like that one, I tend to use that one. Neil, what other technical specifications have we got involved in this little beauty?
Well, before I start on the technical spec, I think I'm going to have to come back to the colourways because I think you're doing it a slight disservice by mentioning the word grey. To me, that is definitely white and silver, and I think it looks pretty slick in those two colourways.
Better get to specs over.
I think it's just an opinion.
Yeah.
But for me, it's more silver and white, and I think it looks pretty stylish. Anyway, that's the stickers. Don't choose about on the stickers. But from a technical point of view, first of all, it's a 540mm blade length, so slightly shorter than a traditional bat. We're talking 15mm, you can see the difference there. The 540 blade length has become more and more popular. We've got pretty much 5 out of the 7 bats now in the Gunn and Moore range are in the 540mm. So that gives you a slightly longer handle, slightly shorter blade length. It gives you probably a bit more bat speed through the ball, and it probably picks up slightly lighter just by having slightly less wood in the bat. From a profile point of view, it's in between. It's still got a nice high spine, slightly cut away but not much, so you've still got a lot of wood in the hitting zone.
Quite a different shape on the way down here, isn't it? Sort of.
Yeah, so as we head down to the toe, it's got almost a smooth and sweeping cutaway down into the toe. That can make the toes quite thin, I think, but you're not really looking to hit the ball down there, so I'm not too worried about that. I think that just adds more willow back to the middle where you're trying to hit the ball. From an actual performance point of view, let's get the bat mallet on it. And I think, as you'd expect, really good in the middle zone. Yeah. Not so much slightly lower because you're starting to lose a bit of the wood out of the bottom there, but I think that's got a great hitting zone right in the middle. So a good sweet spot, pretty good size. We can see in here, we talk about a lot of bats these days, but they've all got pretty big thick edges. They're not the biggest, but they're not small. No. So you're still getting plenty of wood behind the ball there. From a pickup point of view, I think it's well balanced. Be interested to see what your opinion is. For me, it picks up quite light. Yeah. I obviously, I quite like that, particularly if you're playing off the back foot. Just give you a bit more time to get your hands through the ball. Yeah.
Possibly for a younger player that's just sort of transitioning.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. I think you're going to find this probably in a slightly lighter weight range. Yeah. And for those younger players, anywhere between 2.7 and 2.9 is probably where you want to be starting. This also comes in lots of grades of willow.
Yeah.
So we're starting at the 404 and going all the way up to the original LE. So you've got 7 different choices of English willow in this bat. So from a price point of view as well,
you're going to find something.
You're going to find something for you to suit. You mentioned the hex grip, that you quite like that.
Oh, I like that, yeah.
I'm less of a fan.
I know.
This is going to sound strange, but as a grip, I find it too grippy.
It's bizarre,
just
too
bizarre. Much going on. I like something a bit smoother.
Yeah.
But I like the bat. I'm not even going to give it to you yet because I'm giving you my opinion. I'm going to tell you I like this one.
Yeah, I know. We got that feeling.
I might change the grip, something smoother, but for me, this picks up really nicely. I like the colourways. I'm going straight in and saying this could be one for me.
Isn't he, blatantly? Cool. Okay. So interestingly enough, I'm going to go, I completely agree with you about balance. Feels a little bit higher up here, not quite enough wood down the bottom for me. But I do like it. I think it's a nice bat. It's, again, that little bit of forgiving nature, of course, of the shape of the bat, I think will allow you to have a lot more offset hits. I think because the weight, so the wood in the bat is a little bit higher up, so it's going to suit a little bit of the short ball, and I think that's good. Good hard wicket players will do well with this because the ball bounces a little bit more. And I think because it naturally feels a smidge on the lighter side on the pickup, it may well suit a lot of younger players, stroke players as well. So yeah, it's not necessarily in my little category. Oh, I've said no. I'll hand it back. It's all yours, boss.
I've said yes.
Well. Right, team, we've got to get, we're very serious here. We're in front of Foxtrot Delta Bravo, and here it is. We've got the police force. Okay, so we've gone a bit of navy and gold, and it looks very nice in those two colours. Heading on up, we've got our navy and gold continued in the grip all the way up the top. It is the Pro Light grip, which has been around now for a year and a bit. Their lightest possible version of the grips. And again, just a little look on the sides and around the bottom. Ooh, and I've just noticed we've got a little bit of something to talk about there as well. Plus we've got our toe guard. So without further ado, that seems quite nice, ladies and gentlemen.
So the BRAVA.
Yeah.
Quite a bit to talk about with this one from a technical point of view, which is great because it's slightly different to everything else in the Gunn range. You might notice just from seeing that, the shape of it, it's got what they call an F2 face profile. Now what that means is, from the point of the middle out to the edges, normally they would round the bats off, and you can see that as we put it up next to the KRYOS. Much more of a flatter blade shape all the way through, which what that does is it makes the bat look wider. It's not any wider, but it does give you that feeling of width. It also gives you massive edges because they haven't taken anything off here in the shaping of it, so the edges look enormous.
They do, and I think that shape is very similar to a ton or a bass, an SS, an MRF. Yeah. It's very, very similar. So if you're a fan of those types of shapes, this bat is definitely in the market, or in your market now.
Yeah, I think what that does is it provides so much wood then, as we turn it over. You've got so much willow, you know, that high spine there, but you've got willow all the way through that hitting zone there. That's a massive, massive area to strike a ball. That if you do strike it slightly off centre, you're going to still get good value. I'll get the bat mallet on it just out of interest. Say again, it's really good in the midpoint. Fantastic middle. It's not low or high. It definitely felt really in the sort of mid zone there. But up through the middle of the blade, you can definitely feel a lot of wood behind the ball. But that's down to that shape. You mentioned the toe.
Yes.
The shape of the toe is really interesting. I'm gonna put it down on the surface here, and you'll see that if I tried to lay it flat, it would be slightly tilted. Be good to see what that's like if we get to have a go at one of these, because when you actually, what that does is when you're taking your guard, it really does feel like that bat is nice and flush and flat on the surface, which actually I quite like.
Well, we were fans of that, and we saw that in another bats last year. So Chase had a bat that had that particular sort of style of toe, and we were fans of that. We thought it was a good idea.
So I think this for a number of reasons in the Gunn & range.
Good addition, isn't it?
Good addition, but adds quite a lot of variety.
Yes.
It's still a traditional blade length, 555 mil. So it's your traditional length. Grip wise, pro light grip.
You're a fan?
Yeah, I am a fan. You know, because it's just a bit smoother for me. I would say it's more like a normal chevron grip. It's got the nice 2 gold rings in the top there, just to match the colourways. I quite like the navy and the gold as well. I think that works quite nicely. So stylish, pretty good.
Front foot players, back foot?
Well, you have a pick up, see what you think.
So I think with more weight down the bottom end, that's a bit more front foot, heavy power hitting, power strong off of the back foot there. So somebody that's prepared to throw their hands at it, and I think that would suit them. I think pulling and cutting, I think you'd have to try and find one of these with a bit of balance to it, so you get your right weight to it. But I think it's a good option. I think the nice thing is you've got some differences, haven't you?
It's interesting. You felt you made those comments, Rich, about being strong enough. It actually only comes in a short handle.
Yeah.
So as a junior player, you're not going to find one of these in a size 5 or a size 6. Okay. So that's worth noting that it really is an adult bat. So I think strength does play a part. We can see that in the amount of wood you've got there to be picking up. So another really good option from Gunn, just different and something to try. I think that will do well. Yeah. And I think if you like that bat shape, and there's plenty of people that do like that bat shape, then Gunn have now got an offering for you. Yeah, I think so. It's a navy and gold. It's well dressed. As always, Gunn are giving us lots to talk about. We think the 3 new bats in the range look really good, but first of all, we thought we'd better just recap a little bit on some of the other bats that we've got in the range from last year. So here we go. So first up, we've got the new 3, and then we go across to the Ben Stokes, Spark, the Prima and the Radon. I think the best way to start with this is just to give you a bit of a feel of the differences in these bats. So we've got a Prima with a little bit of a higher spine. We then move across to a Spark, and then we felt the KRYOS sort of came in. That's the KRYOS. The KRYOS. Oh, I want to call it Nick KRYOS. I know he plays tennis. I know, but that is the KRYOS.
Okay. Apologies, Nick. Apologies.
And any tennis fans.
And any tennis fans out there.
Okay.
So we've got a little bit of a difference here in the spines. You've got a higher spine that's going to give you the balance pickup in the Prima.
Same blade length.
Same blade lengths as well. That's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, 540s. Hence, that's probably why they all pick up slightly lighter. Yeah. And similar shapes.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? So here we go from one end to the other, which is a little bit of a spine on it, but we have a little bit more of a rounded finish, giving a little bit more forgiveness.
I think you've also then got colours, splash of colour, versus stylish, sleek.
Yeah.
So you've got plenty of options.
And that's new too. We've got 2 Pro Light grips and 1 hex. That's just because I talk about grips, isn't it? I know I get carried away. And then of course we've got the exciting 2. So the new version, the updated, brand spanking new HYPA. And then of course we've got Ben Stokes. And that's of course the Diamond. It's a great bat, isn't it? And we felt again they were similar in their shapes, but there are some slight differences to them. Here we've got a little bit more of a rounded nature, which is going to suit a lot of batters. The Diamond's going to be right up there as well, isn't it?
Diamond's going to be up there, as Ben Stokes' bat. He's a flagship player. He's now the Test captain. We've also started winning Test matches since we were here this time last year. That will always be popular. The new HYPA, that's back to a traditional blade length.
Yes.
So the difference between those two really is your traditional blade length versus slightly shorter. Yeah. Very similar to the Noir, which we've mentioned. Yeah. But but definitely a quirk in the styling.
It is. So you can see already that you're starting to get quite a variety in the range. And then we've added in one at the top and one down the bottom. So you've got the BRAVA here, which is completely different. So it's much more of a sort of an Asian subcontinent type shape, much straighter, flat face. We liked the little toe, angular toe, so that it sits on the ground. We think that's going to be a really popular thing. It's only for for a few people, but we do think that's going to be a popular choice, and it's nice to see it on a top end and a different bat as well. So that's really good because that's just very different. It's a very different shape. I think that's going to be very popular with the adult cricketers, and I think it's going to be very popular with front foot batters. I think it gives them a really good option there. It's a bit different.
It's interestingly styled, isn't it? We don't often see navy in a cricket range, but navy and gold works quite well together. So I'd say very, very, very well styled.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Interesting shape. That's going to please a few people.
I think it is.
The edges seem massive.
They do,
because of the cutaway shape there.
Yeah, yeah, we like that. And of course, then we go down to the radon.
So the radon really acts as a good entry-level price point bat. It will come in a variety of different shapes and sizes. It will be the willow that the bat maker has decided that's got a few blemishes in it. I can't use it as a 808 or a 606, so I'm going to put this in. And I'm going to turn it into a bat that's usable and good for someone starting out, just getting into the game, or wants a well-priced bat at the lower end. So painted finish.
Yeah,
probably worth saying.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, you're likely to pick up a really good little bargain in a radon.
Yeah,
because the wood will be decent. It's just that
it'll be reasonable. You're going to get probably slightly less performance at that end, but it does act as a really good price point for people, depending on where their budget is for 2023.
Overall, I think we would say good additions.
I think good additions, and I think it's good variety.
Yeah.
I think there's probably something for everyone in the Gunn range. From the BRAVA through to the new the KRYOS.
You nearly said it. He nearly said it.
To the HYPA. Something for everyone, and the classics from last year are still very good bats.
Yeah.
They're still in the range for a reason.
For a good reason.
Because they're popular and they sold well in 2022. That's why they've probably kept them in 2023.
Yeah.
And yeah, lots to choose from.
It is, isn't it?
Like everything, do your research. Make sure you know what weight you need if you're looking for a short-handled bat. If you're in a junior bat, just make sure you get the right size. We've got plenty in stock to choose from. If you get a chance to go in store, go in store. You can then pick them up. If not, have a look online, and any advice you need, let us know.
Cool. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed that. We have. We've certainly enjoyed looking through this range. If you enjoyed the video, do give us the old thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and of course, leave a comment below. Be nice.
Here we go, this is in Nathan's zone.
Oh, nice! Oh, no! Oh, you're doing
Finders.